Laura is a apprenticeship and training representative from the Bureau of Labor and Industries. She also happens to be a journeyed carpenter, and so she herself has lived the life of an apprentice. So we're going to spend the next hour with you. At the end of the session, we will be opening it up for a brief Q&A session, but you'll see Laura's email address is right there on the screen. And if you do have questions along the way, feel free to utilize the chat and you can type your message in and we will try our best to get to it. With that, I am going to hand it off to Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for all the work you've put into this project that we were collaborating on. And we started, I think, a year ago, we started doing this together. And again, yeah, we were out sick in the fall. Appreciate you all coming to this. And this will be our first part. We're going to have a second part. It will be in March. We just changed that date from February. So we'll have more info on the second half later in this slide. So if you are here for an overview of apprenticeships in Oregon, you've come to the right place. If you didn't come for this and you still want to, hang out and learn something about apprenticeships, you're more than welcome to. My name is Laura Tocki-Toggenburger. I am an apprenticeship representative at the Bureau of Labor and Industries. I journeyed out, as Stacy said, I'm also a journey level carpenter. I journeyed out in 2020, worked in the field for a couple more years. Prior to that, I was also, I did a pre-apprenticeship with the Oregon tradeswomen. And then I also did Pacific Northwest Carpenters Institute pre-apprenticeship as well. I joined the Apprenticeship and Training Division, also called ATD, in late 2022. And I provide technical assistance. So I get to read all the rules and regulations around apprenticeship and provide that to apprenticeship programs within the state of Oregon. Today, we are going to discuss apprenticeship in Oregon, including what is registered apprenticeship, examples of apprenticeship occupations, components of apprenticeship, and what to expect as an apprentice, how to apply, and pre-apprenticeships. With that, there will be a Q&A at the end, so we can answer your questions. We'll have somebody monitoring the chat for that. And then feel free to just ask them at the end, write down any questions you have and we'll answer them. I love to answer questions. Moving on. So apprenticeship in Oregon. If you're familiar or not familiar at all with registered apprenticeship, it is state by state. So each state can either have the federal government oversee it or the state can adopt to have themselves do it. Oregon adopted to do that. So we are a state approving authority. So we have been given the authority from the federal government to approve our own apprenticeship committees. So it's a little different each state. So I'll be talking specifically to Oregon. Oregon has a total of 157 registered programs that manages about 285 occupations, and there's about 10,000 apprentices currently. The registered apprenticeship system in Oregon is overseen by BOLI, or the Bureau of Labor and Industry, and within BOLI is the Apprenticeship and Training Division, or ATD. And we are the agency that has been authorized by USDOL. We do this in collaboration with the Oregon State Apprenticeship and Training Council, also called OSAT. OSAT is made up of 8 council members appointed by the governor to enforce apprenticeship regulations. They are the final body that approves apprenticeship. So that's something that's just out there to think about. Well, I'm the one who gives you that technical assistance, or I can help an applicant go through the process. OSAT is just that overseeing body that can approve or deregister apprenticeship programs. So ATD, that's who I am part of. We provide that technical assistance to help programs operate in compliance with the state and federal regulations. So now let's talk a little bit more about what registered apprenticeship is and what it really means. So registered apprenticeship is typically, when you hear the word apprenticeship, you're like, electrician, plumber. Do you think of carpenters, bricklayers? You think of a lot of traditional, quote unquote, traditional occupations. But it can also cover some other things. So and not many people know the components of it. So it's a high quality career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce through paid work experience and classroom instruction. So this is commonly referred to as earn while you learn. Some employers may offer apprenticeship that is not overseen by federal or state regulations. We call that little a apprenticeships, and we won't be discussing those today, but that's something where it's like you're apprenticing at a tattoo shop, or you're apprenticing at like a jeweler's shop. Those are typically not registered apprenticeship within the United States or within the state of Oregon. Those are, I mean, if you've learned anything in history, you might have seen apprenticing and other trades and crafts, and that's fascinating. I am fascinated by those things, and those are not the ones that we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about the structured registered apprenticeship that we recognize here. And that can, the lengths of them can vary anywhere from 1 to 5 years. And the three components that make up registered apprenticeship are the industry standard, the paid supervised on-the-job training, and the certified classroom instruction, also called related training. The lengths can be anywhere from 1 to 5 years. So you'll see something like a 2,000 hour apprenticeship or a 10,000 hour apprenticeship. 2,000 hours corresponds to about a year of work with like 2 weeks off. So that's how we measure apprenticeship in Oregon. And apprentices are technically employees of a company that they work for, and they are always paid. And when they complete their program, they're considered a subject matter expert or a journey level worker. So now we are going to talk about some examples of apprenticeship occupations. So some examples, I kind of named a couple of those traditional ones that you might hear about, like electrician, who install, maintain, replace, and repair electrical systems and equipment. They pull wires. I have seen electricians digging trenches to put the wires in, so they can do some of that dirt work too. They don't exactly enjoy that, but it is quite fun to see out in the wild. Other things include like a maintenance mechanic who repair, install, adjust, or maintain industrial production and processing machinery, or refinery and pipeline distribution systems. If you can't tell from these two things, they're very hands-on. Plumber, same thing, assemble, install, and repair pipes, fittings, medical gas systems, and fixtures of heating, water, and drainage systems. Plumbers, typically, commercial plumbers will do like brand new installs. So they're putting in all the piping systems for your fresh water, for your wastewater. They're putting in the fixtures for a lot of these things as well. So they're putting in the faucets and the different things that go along with that. And these are a lot of hands-on jobs that really need somebody who has that tactile learning, that desire to work with their hands. Other occupations are bricklayer, cement finisher, which I will to this day say cement finishers are the best paid on-the-job workouts you can get in this world. If you have kids, or if you know anybody who just wants to work out all day, cement finisher is like the primo job for that. You get paid to work out. Elevator mechanics, operators. So an operator is someone in a crane, like a tower crane. That's an operator. Someone who is working at doing like the life support systems at the zoo. They're an operator, which I find fascinating because they are operating the different switches that is in charge of the pumps for the water lines, for the different things happening there. Always awesome. The next, painters, carpenters, and non-traditional trade occupations include medical assistant, certified pharmacy technician. Firefighters are now coming along into apprenticeship. We do have certified alcohol and drug counselors, qualified mental health associates, and something near and dear to my heart that I absolutely love are early childhood educators. So people who are interested in taking care of those tiny humans that are so valuable to us. So we do have some early childhood educator apprenticeships that are coming up as well. So next we'll talk about that industry standard that I mentioned. And the industry standard comprises of the list of skills, knowledge, and competencies apprentices will need to learn on the job or in the classroom during their apprenticeship. This includes the training activities and any credentials the apprentice may receive along their way. So this slide, I have a copy of the front of what a standard would look like. And on there, you'll see there's the name of the committee, which I have highlighted as Pacific Northwest Carpenters, JATC. And JATC stands for Joint Apprenticeship Training Council, or committees, sorry, my apologies. So Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee. And that is the committee that an apprentice would be joining. And you will also see occupational titles. So this is for carpenter. And here you'll see the term or the length that says 8,000 hours. So that's approximately a 4-year program. So if they're working about 40 hours a week, minus vacation and sick time, you get about that 2,000 hours. And if there's a license requirement, it will also be noted on the front page. So this carpenter apprenticeship does not have a license. So there is no license component. For other trades, such as inside electrician, which is the general all-around electrician, it'll say general journeyman electrician for the license. And that is through the building codes division, which is a separate division from my division, but we do work hand in hand with them. So we do have that. Another thing you'll see on this standard is the MA number on that same line as the license number, or where the license says NA, on that same line it says MA number. And that stands for master agreement, which is unique to each approved program. So the MA number on this one is 1057, or what we say is 1057. And that's just something that helps us internally and kind of externally to know, like, what standard are you talking about? Because all carpenter standards should be, they have to meet a minimum state guideline standard. So they all have to meet a minimum, but some of them might exceed it. So if you are a counselor at a high school and you call me up and you're like, hi, I'm looking to get someone into this carpentry standard, and the minimum qualification says X, Y, and Z, can you help me with it? And I'll say, which MA number are you looking at? So that's just something to note when you're looking at these standards. And all of these standards you can find on our website. So all the current standards are available on the website, the Bureau of Labor and Industries website, which if you Google Bureau of Labor and Industries, Oregon, you'll find it. And on the top, it'll say apprenticeship, and you click on that apprenticeship option, and you can find search for apprenticeships, and you click in there and you'll find the standards will be out in that area. And if you need help with that, feel free to reach out. And that's something we can also discuss further on our next presentation. So here I have the second page of the standard, which has all these contents within it. And the beginning is boilerplate language. So you don't really need to see any of 1 through 12. You can look at that, and that will be exactly the same for all the standards. What's different and unique for each one is at number 13, which is the program contact information. So that is unique to the standard. You'll find it will have the geographic area listed, which is where the program operates its counties, or which counties that program operates in, or if they operate in the whole state. Not all committees operate in every county. So some of them might just operate in Yamhill. Some might just operate in Polk. Some might just operate in Marion. And this is where you can really find out like where these committees are at, because our website is a little awkward in that if you are looking them up, the administrator's contact information is listed, but it doesn't tell you exactly what counties they are operating in, or where they will take apprentices from. You'll also see the minimum qualifications in Appendix B, and that's how the minimum qualifications that an applicant will need to apply for this apprenticeship. And that's important because especially if you're working in a high school and you have juniors or seniors and they're interested in maybe being an electrician, they might need to take some shop classes because that can help. Well, that would help with their application. Sorry. The minimum qualifications would really show, well, it could help with them too, because there might be a math test or there might be a math requirement. Some of these apprenticeships, like electrician, do require a math class. And a lot of them require minimum age requirement. And it's the selection procedure that you might want to have like shop classes in. So I misspoke a little bit there, but there is some stuff, like some of them do have that math component. So it is nice to see it, kind of like when you're applying for a college, to see what is there now so you can prepare, because it does take some time to get into these apprenticeships. It's not just I'm getting it, I'm applying for a job, I'm getting it. This is similar to applying for a university, in that you do need to have a competitive application and it will take some time. So the selection procedure is Appendix C. And that's how they accept applicants in their program, including if there is a weighted application, such as points awarded for shop classes taken or volunteer experience. I've seen that. It really depends on the committee on what their selection procedure is. The more competitive ones tend to have a higher selection procedure weighting, and the less competitive ones will not have a really rigorous selection procedure. You'll also see the wages. That's another big one. And the wage progression. So journey level carpenter, I think when I left the field, was in the high 40s, maybe 50s. But an apprentice will start at a portion of that. So journey level workers might be $55 for a carpenter, but an apprentice will get 50% of that. So $26, $27, something like that. But that's a nice selling point for saying, like, hey, if you have no experience and you start within, like, when you start on this job, you're going to get $26 an hour. And then in 6 months, assuming you've been working, you'll get re-rated and you'll get another $3 an hour after that. So as you're progressing through your apprenticeship, you're getting paid more money for your knowledge and your skill set. You also see a description of work processes. That's also a nice place to stop and see, like, hey, what does this inside electrician do? What does a plumber do? What does a steam fitter do? What does an early childhood educator do? Then you'll also see the related training or that certified curriculum. So an outline of what the classrooms will look like, and any other important information in that area as well. So moving on. So the work processes I kind of talked about. This is an example of a industrial maintenance millwright. And you'll see here on the left is the work processes. I'm looking now at my other monitor because it is larger, and so I'm going to look at that slightly. You'll see those work processes listed out for you. So general maintenance, an apprentice is expected to do 2,500 hours of that, and that includes safe work practices, tool use, scaffolding, concrete and steel bases, general carpentry, mechanical drives, conveyors, general maintenance of boilers, preventative maintenance, emergency clean operation systems. Some of these items you might not understand, and you're kind of like, I don't understand what half of this stuff means. You can always call the administrator and they can explain a little bit more of what exactly these work processes are. Just so you can have a better grasp of it for an apprentice. If they were like, this is the one I want to do, and you're like, okay, well, let me reach out and see if that's actually what you do. Or the applicant can reach out. So 3,000 hours of maintenance repair machinery. So it looks like a lot of troubleshooting, dismantling things. So if you know somebody who really likes to take apart a piece of machinery, engine, transmission, or put it back together, air compressors, air dryers, engines, piping. Millwrights typically work in industrial settings. Well, industrial being like a manufacturing plant, a wood mill, something like that. And a millwright's the one who's in there working on the machinery, tinkering around, trying to troubleshoot a lot of it. Sometimes a millwright will also have a licensing component to it. So they might be doing some light electrical work or low voltage electrical work, which is kind of fun. They're also doing lubrication of machines, so 200 hours of that, 500 hours of welding. So they might be fixing that machine by doing various types of welding, like arc and oxyacetylene welding, cutting and brazing, layout, firewatch, hot work, plasma cutting, shielded metal, arc, the other types of welding that go along with it. Shop practices, 500. And I think that was on another page, and I didn't finish that. And then on the right side, I have certified classroom instruction or that related training for the same that same occupation. So you'll also see on the standards, the top page of each standard has the name of the JATC. So this one's mid-willamette industrial electrical JATC. The middle is that industrial maintenance millwright, the name of the occupation. And then on the right, it has that MA number, so that master agreement number listed. So in case you're lost and you're like, I don't know where I am on this document or whose it is, you'll see it at the top. So that related training on the right, they do have a minimum of 144 hours of related training that an apprentice is required to do each year for this committee or for this standard. And there's the course outline of the things that they'll be doing throughout their apprenticeship. So they'll be doing 36 hours of safety, 12 hours of basic carpentry, 48 hours of tool, hand, and portable power, and those other items there, totaling 576 hours. And then the methods of how it's given, which is community college and validated distance learning specific to the occupation, and the curriculum providers, Penn Foster Workforce Development certification is listed right there. So here's a little bit more about that progressive wage scale. This is specifically for the glazier occupation, as noted in the top middle, for MA number 1017, and the JATC is the Oregon and Southwest Washington Glaziers Architectural Metal and Glass Workers Joint Apprenticeship and Training Council. So you'll see this Appendix E on all of these standards. It'll have the date at which this wage was submitted to us, and they're updated annually. So these standards are updated annually for the wages. This one's from 2023, so this has gone up. They're probably in the 55 range, I'm thinking, for the glaziers. It could be even higher than that. But as of July 1st, 2023, they were at $49.91. And you'll see that this is a progressive wage scale. Some of these wage scales are a bit confusing in the standards, I will admit. We do not have a standard. We do not have a standardized wage progression scale, which is kind of funny and not funny, but we're cleaning it up as we go. So you'll see a little bit different on some of these where, so the idea is that it's like you come in, you're a first period apprentice, and there's an allotment of hours that are required of you. So it should be 0 to 1,000 hours. You're in your first period of apprenticeship, and you'll be getting 45% of that journey level wage. So 45% of $49.91 would be $22.47 an hour. And as you progress, once you get to that 1,001 hours, then your second period apprentice. So the next step is second period, and it would be 1,001 to 2,000 hours, and you'll be getting 55% of $49.91. So that would be $27.45 an hour, or about a $5 raise after only 6 months of work, which is about $199 a week, or $800 a month raise. That's just mind-blowing to me that after 6 months you get $800 more. It's amazing. And I will note that the employers are required to pay this minimum that is listed, but that's not necessarily, sometimes they pay above this, but this is just the minimum. Yeah, it's kind of amazing apprenticeship. The next slide, I'm going to talk about joint apprenticeship and training committees. So I've talked a bit about the JATC, and the JATC is the employers or employees that have come together to oversee this standard of apprenticeship, to oversee that certified classroom instruction and the paid on-the-job training. So typically they're made of multiple employers, also called training agents, and apprentices can move around employers without signing a new apprenticeship agreement within that JATC. So big construction ones, you'll have multiple training agents or employers within them, and they can move around within them Some smaller JATCs might be a fixed site. So a fixed site would be like a wastewater treatment facility, such as the city of Portland's wastewater treatment facility, and that is a single employer. So that apprentice is going to be working for that employer that whole time. JATCs oversee a single standard or a group of similar standards, and they provide that administrative oversight, including applications and registration, ensure classroom training is conducted, review apprentice progress, and other items. So most programs in Oregon are called JATCs. Some are JACs or JTCs, and others are TATC, which is a Trade Apprenticeship Training Committee. And those are typically that single employer, like a fixed site location. So you might see that in some of the names if you're going through our website and looking up like, oh, this is a Mid-Willamette TATC, then you'll kind of understand like, oh, that is a fixed site location typically, or there's a couple different fixed sites like that. So what can an apprentice expect? So their apprenticeships can be about 1 to 5 years, depending on what they've signed up for. 1 year for early childhood educator, 5 year for steam fitters, I think steam fitters are about 5 years. Yeah, electricians, 4 to 5 years as well. So the structure of it is that they're supervised on the job training so that an apprentice would never oversee another apprentice. It would be a journey worker, a journey level worker, or a subject matter expert would be the person supervising that apprentice. Pay, every apprentice should be getting paid for their work, and there's that structure wage increase as their experiences increase. They will get the classification, they will get a journey level certification, and depending on that standard, there might be a licensure component, such as plumbers or electricians. And that is, licensure is specific to the state that you are in. So they'll need to sit for their licensure exam within the state of Oregon if they want to trade, if they want to travel. Some states have interstate agreements, so you can sit for a licensure exam for another state, but you'll need to check in with those other states. And the journey level certification is pretty universal across the United States. So once you're a journey level carpenter in Oregon, you can really take that certification to another state. There is some regionality within construction, but that's to be expected with the country is gigantic, and we do have a lot of differences throughout, especially when you come from somewhere where it's freezing cold and you're going somewhere where it's warm. You're going to have different styles of construction in those places. College credits, some apprenticeship programs are credentialed through local community colleges. So some of these standards do offer like an associate's degree that comes with that. So if you want to start off in construction, a lot of young folks that I met, who were in their early 20s, who have journeyed out, were looking to move on to something else. And so you can do that associate's degree and lead into a bachelor's degree and get into project managing. That is one of those things that's absolutely phenomenal, is to have a trades worker in that position. They are very highly regarded within the field of construction, to have someone who has that trades background moving up into that management. So it's not a dead end. It is very much a career opportunity for a lot of people, and opens up a lot of different pathways. So it's nice that some of these committees offer that college credit. Next, I'll talk a bit more about that minimum qualifications and how to apply. So I mentioned those minimum qualifications in the standards. Some of them have at least 18 years of age. If you're under 18, you'll need to check out some of our pre-apprenticeship programs, which I'll talk about a bit later. Also, some of them do allow for under 18. So some say 17 to apply, but 18 at the time of registration. So that education, so within that minimum qualifications, I kind of mentioned a math component to it. I neglected to remember that some of them do have that high school diploma or GED requirement. Though not every one of them requires it. You'll need to see. And then some of them do have that math component as well. Some do have a physical requirement, and typically you won't see it. Let me show you what it looks like on a standard. This is this slide. So this is what it will look like in the standards. So that physical component typically doesn't have anything in there, but there may be something in the notes section where it's a condition of employment. So the committee is not going to require an apprentice to have, like, you need to be able to lift 50 pounds, but the employer might have a physical test for physical fitness component, which is it has to be a validated test. So something where you're going to a non-urgent care facility and they do a physical test of like pushing a weight across the room, picking up something and moving, just to ensure that you can perform a majority of the work that is required. So this is an example of the bricklayer minimum qualifications for MA 1008 for the Oregon Southwest Washington Mason Trades, JATC. You'll see that they have an age requirement, minimum of 18 years of age, and they don't have an education, no physical, no testing other, but they do have a note of a condition of employment. The employer may require a substance abuse test, may require a valid driver's license, may require that demonstration of physical ability to perform the job and work safely at high elevations. And then apprentices may be required to sign a scholarship loan agreement. So the employment notes are that some of the employers do require these things, not all of them do. And that's something, that's a kind of a question that we get a lot of is, can I smoke weed and work on this and be an apprenticeship, because it is legal in the state of Oregon? It really is up to the committee. Some of these employers don't require it. Some of these employers are federal contractors and they do require it because at the federal level, it's not allowed. So they do random drug testing. Some of them also require a valid driver's license. And some do require like a background check. So they might be working on a school, and at a school, there's an additional requirement. But that's up to the committee. Might not, would not necessarily prevent someone from applying. These are just things to think about because they might have some employers that have additional restrictions. So that selection procedure I talked about before, let's talk about that again. Once an applicant has met those minimum qualifications, then they have to go through the selection procedure. And some of the selection procedures are application point systems. Some of them are random selection, some of them are ranked lists, some of them have an interview process, and some of them have exceptions, also called direct entry. And that's also listed in that selection procedure. What else? So after that selection procedures is that list of exceptions I just said. They allow a program to register applicants at any time if they fall within one of those categories that have been adopted by the committee. So you might have an apprentice who falls within, or an applicant who falls within one of those areas. So it's just worth looking at that selection procedure to see how someone might rank on that list or how they can get in. A lot of them do have a pre-apprentice direct entry. So finding that pre-apprenticeship program that feeds into these apprenticeships is a great way to get applicants from high school or recently graduated from high school into apprenticeship faster. I also will note that some programs that have less than 5 apprentices are not required to have the selection procedure listed in their standards. So you might not see it in all of them. So if you're digging through and you see something that says NA less than 5, that means they have less than 5 apprentices. And that's typical of like very small committees, which are throughout Oregon. And I suggest reaching out to that administrator directly at the end of the standard just to see like, hey, how do people get into it? Apprenticeship seems like this mystical thing, but they really do want people, and they do want people. So I suggest really calling and checking in with them. So here is an example of a selection procedure. This is for the bricklayer apprenticeship, MA 1008. So the Oregon Southwest Washington Mason Trades, JATC. So you'll see the selection procedure has a couple boilerplate sentence at the top. All out-of-work apprentices in good standing will be offered the opportunity for reemployment prior to new applicants being registered in conformance with the committee's approved initial employment policy. And then it goes on to talk about how they rank apprentices and how they bring in applications. This is also something we don't have standardized, and we've sort of left it up to these committees to, like, you create the language that you want to see in your selection procedure. So if you see some of these that are very hard to follow, you're not alone. They are kind of hard to follow. But basically, if you skip A and go to B where it says open applications, when the ranked pool of eligibles established above is too small to adequately address the needs of the program, the committee will establish a separate pool and open for applications from the general public. Placement from this pool will occur only after the pool of eligibles established in item A is exhausted. And here you'll see application notice and schedule. So they're going to announce that they're opening up their application, that they're accepting people, and then they go on to talk about their application process, and some other things that go along with it. Qualified pool of eligibles in orientation, ranked pool of eligibles. And then they go on to talk about their application point system. I did not include that next page, but you can go through and find that standard to see what it is. I believe we'll be talking a bit more about that on our next presentation, a bit more about that point system, such as like interviews, because that's a common one that many of these committees do, is that they'll do like an interview. They'll ask you to fill out like that application and do an interview. So I mentioned pre-apprenticeship on some of the exceptions, and it's just pre-apprenticeship in general. Let's talk about pre-apprenticeship real quick. So pre-apprenticeship are designed to prepare inexperienced individuals to enter and complete a registered apprenticeship program, and they're located throughout Oregon and offer various resources for individuals. Sometimes they also have grants for tools or assistance for less wages, because a lot of these pre-apprenticeships are unpaid. So a difference with pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship is that pre-apprenticeship is a group training applicants, and they're not paying them. So they're not asking them to do work. They're training them on the items around apprenticeship and really help with people getting into apprenticeship. And they offer wraparound services as well. So a lot of these programs are on average about 6 to 12 weeks in length. No experience is needed. Registered pre-apprenticeship has direct entry or preferred entry for a lot of registered apprenticeship programs. They help meet the minimum qualifications for registered apprenticeship. So if it is required that they have to pass a drug test, they will help folks get a clean drug test. If someone needs to have a math component or their GED, a lot of these pre-apprenticeships will help get that GED or get that math component. They offer a lot of hands-on training, skills development, career exploration, and workforce readiness. They are throughout the state of Oregon. You can also find them listed on our website as well. So when you click that pre-apprenticeship tab at the top of the website, you'll see pre-apprenticeship option as well as search firm there. Yeah, and they're a great option for someone who's like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to work with my hands. Like when I went into the Oregon Tradeswoman pre-apprenticeship, I had no idea which field to go into. A friend wanted me to be an electrician because she's an electrician. And I was like, I don't know yet. And I got to try out a bunch of different trades. So it's a great option for someone who's like, I kind of want to do it. I don't want to do it. Let me see. Or I don't know which one I want to do. So they're a great option. And that brings me to our questions section. And if there are any questions.
Yeah, you feel free to unmute yourselves. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
And or you can type a question that you might have in the chat. Feel free to ask away. Students, you too, if you're still on the line with us. We do have one question in the chat. It's from Robert. He says, does having completed work keys help in the application process?
Oh, that is a great question, Robert. Thank you for asking. It depends on the committee and the standard. Yeah, you'd have to look at that application or the selection procedure to see what they have in there. I do know one Carpenters JATC, the Union Carpenters JATC does have the work keys component in their application, so they do give points for that.
Any other questions?
For me as a school counselor, I think what happens is it feels like they're so competitive, right? Like it is like the college process, but maybe even more competitive, right? And our kiddos, maybe they're not open at the time that they're graduating, or they're confused a little bit about the process, and they kind of need to be doing the application process over maybe even years, and they kind of don't have that connection with us when then they're doing the process. So I'm wondering, as I kind of launch them into it, because I would say a lot of my kids are interested in apprenticeship, and then the percentage of them that come back and tell me that they actually stuck with it and got into one is very, very low compared to the amount that are interested. And I'm not sure as a school counselor what I should be communicating to them when they kind of walk out the door as high school seniors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is a great question. Thank you for asking. The best option I would say is to shove them at a pre-apprenticeship program, and they have that capacity to really hold their hands in that application. One of the amazing ones in this area, in the Portland area, is well, there's Portland Youth Builders, and I know they're also amazing, but they're out like getting the young people into it. And they offer that like continuing support. And I'm trying to think of the other one. And they help with that process. Would be my best bet. Yeah.
Are you thinking of CORE? CORE has a pre-apprenticeship program that's really good for students.
Yeah. I don't know that one off the top of my head. Do you know where that one's located?
It's a manufacturing pre-apprenticeship, but they give you your OSHA 10 certification, CPR, your BOLI certificates, and you get to learn about a bunch of different trades, and it's free. And the materials are all provided. It's just CORE. Where is it located? I'm sorry, it doesn't say on here.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if they're a BOLI one, I'm not familiar with, we keep adding them, which is great.
Yeah.
You can look on our website for pre-apprenticeships. I think someone asked if you can look up by region, and I'm not sure if you can. I can't remember. Now I'm going to look real quick if we can do it. And here I'll bring over my web browser. Can you all see my web browser?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So this is that Bureau of Labor and Industries website that I was talking about. Apprenticeship at the top. Click on that. I'm going to scroll down. Let's see. Scrolling down. Pre-apprenticeship programs. Clicking on that. Kind of talks about pre-apprenticeship here. Going down. Does not look like it's available via region, which is annoying.
It's alphabetical.
It's alphabetical. Yeah, there's another option. Let me scroll up real quick. Click back on that apprenticeship up here. Let's see. Find a registered apprenticeship program. Let's see. Aha. Pre-apprentice training program. Nope. Only by name. Dang it. Oh, but it has city. I don't know if I'd trust that though. That might help though. That's another option. This is also a great resource right here on finding program by county or occupation. So here you can click the different counties, and this one's actually accurate, but it's kind of hard to get to this page. But if you were like, I am in Marion County and I want to find, let's see, a bricklayer, let's search. These are the two committees that are bricklayers in Marion County, and you want to click on that name, and here you go. Here's the contact number. There's their website. Click here where it says review the program standards, and that's where you're going to find that standard of apprenticeship right there. And you can find that minimum qualifications and that selection procedure as well. Yeah, great questions.
That was helpful.
Yeah.
We have Charlie from LeGrand asking, are pre-apprenticeships available as summer options only?
They are year round, depending on the program. Oregon Tradeswoman does quarterly. So they do 4 a year, all year. It depends on the program.
That's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Josiah asks, what is the program called? I'm not sure, Josiah, what you meant by that question exactly.
Maybe it was that core one.
I think maybe he was wondering about if it's called core.
I wonder if I can find it on our website.
Yeah. Are there other questions specific to apprentice? Yeah. Okay. Josiah said, yeah, it's the core one.
I have looked at the different apprenticeship opportunities with kids, and it can get a little overwhelming when you try and read through all of the stuff. And at the end of it, it's kind of like we get left feeling like, so where do you actually apply? Like, where's the application to apply?
Yeah, great question. So are you like talking about looking at that website? Let's
Yeah.
see.
So when we're on the BOLI website, and
Yeah.
she wants to be a plumber. So we've
Yeah.
looked at-
All right. Let's do this. Okay. Find an apprenticeship program. So this is that other way you can find a program. So you're like, yeah, they want to be a plumber. All right, let's scroll down.
Yeah, this is
There's
how
so much to look at here. It's only half up. I mean, it's half up. View details. Plumber. Okay, cool. Job description, working conditions, minimum qualifications are not listed because we didn't update our website. So sorry. This website is not user friendly at all. And yeah, you're like, this is where I'm saying like the city part is a little misleading. So this is the administrator's location. So let's just pick a random one. So I clicked that. And this gives you that information for this. They're not accepting applications. This is not accurate. Everyone always call is what I say. I'm like, it says not accepting applications, but always call.
Yeah.
They might be accepting. So the person to contact here, it says Marianne Carley. She's that administrator. So you can give her a phone. So you'll have to get the application directly from the committee. So that administrator is the person you get the application from.
Okay.
We just compile the list of everybody who's registered, and we don't actually have those applications, unfortunately. It would be nice though if it was just like a universal application process. That's another.
Cool. That is very helpful because we did actually, there's another one in here we went to, and his name was Russell, and he was so very helpful in letting us know that, you know, yeah, it says Salem, but he's like, I'm actually over in like Coos Bay.
Yeah.
And plumbing is very hard right now to get into.
Yeah. So I recommend going back to that. Let's see. Let's go back to that apprentice page. And where it says find registered apprentice program or training agent, click on that one. And let's see, find a program by occupation or county. So what county are you in?
Curry.
Curry County. Let's see, Curry.
Cool.
Curry County. And then we're going to look up plumber. Boop. And you'll see that you have area 4 independent TACs. So that's one of those TACs, which might not be taking anybody. But
yeah,
here's this JATC. And this one, and there's that phone number. So you can look on review standards. Boop. And we'll click down to at the end of the standard, it says program contact information. And right here it has Dominic DePiro of this committee. And this is a union one. And they're the state. So yeah, you give them a phone call right here.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's a little tricky looking here. Like you have this phone number here and it doesn't give you the name of the administrator, this way of finding it. But this does show you which counties that you can find plumbers located in.
Okay.
Curious to see this one.
That was a great question, Shayla, and thank you for
Yeah,
demonstrating that, Laura.
you're welcome.
Well, great. Well, here's the contact information that we and the website information, and also Laura's email address. And we will be having another session. And we encourage you to join. Oops, there's a typo there, my mistake. But that session is on March the 5th. It was going to be February 26th, but we do have to move it to March 5. Again, that will run from 2:45 to 3:45. And of course, if you're not able to join, we will record it and it will be available for viewing at a later time. There's a QR code right there if you need it. But we will send out email reminders to folks, and we hope that you were able to join. Feel free, if you can go back one screen, Laura.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out to Laura with questions from this session, or you can email me. I put my email address in the chat. And we will be taking this recording and the PowerPoint that we showed today, and I will be emailing that out in 3 to 4 weeks after we have a chance to format this recording. And we definitely encourage you to reach out to us with additional questions so that we can be sure that you're feeling confident. Shayla's question was a great example. We want to be able to help you navigate this, what I feel like is sometimes a mysterious way to get into the trades, but we want to demystify it and help you make it easier to have those conversations with your students. And for students, those of you who are joining us today, for you to figure it out for yourselves as you leave high school. With that, we wanted to say thank you for joining us. Can go 2 more screens. And remember that we are going to send you a copy of that PowerPoint. If you do have any questions, you can also reach out to your Aspire coordinator or email me directly. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.